Everybody I talk to who runs an email marketing agency always seems to tell me our services are amazing, but we're not charging enough. In today's video, I'm gonna show you exactly how I structure my offers within my email and SMS marketing agency, maximize profit, and increase retention. I'm gonna show you how to turn project-based work into retainer-based work. I'm also gonna show you how to take projects and actually pitch offers that make you way more sticky and make the client way more reliant on you to ensure that you increase the LTV of your offer and your clients. My name's Gavin. I make these videos really just to document my own journey. Hey, I've been doing a little bit of coaching recently as well, which is why I'm making these videos. So if you need some help, chuck your comments down below, get in touch with me. There's a bunch of free ways to get in touch, Calendly, buy my resources, I guess, subscribe to my channel. But without wasting more of your time, let me show you how I structure my deals. By the way, you have access to the board I'm gonna go over in a second. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is how I price my services. Now, once again, I'm not very smart. This might be wrong, but this is how I price my services from my email marketing agency, and it helps me break pretty consistently 50 to 70K revenue months in USD. So this is how I approach my pricing and how I create my offer. The first thing that you have to keep in mind for email marketing is there's typically only 3 things that we can charge for, okay? Typically, there are other little things you can, sell, but it's usually campaigns, automations, or sign-up forms, okay? The first thing you want to figure out what kind of margin you want to have on your agency and what your fixed costs are. If you're just starting, you might not need to apply this thinking here, but if you have a team, you need to figure out what the cost to run your team actually is and how many clients your team can manage to inform what your pricing is going to be. Sorry, I just had a burp. That's why I paused. It's so embarrassing. So, team members. Usually, your pod is going to comprise of a designer, a builder, a copywriter, or a project manager. Sometimes these roles will cross over, but as you grow, you will need to have specialized roles for each of these things. So a designer, I might be wrong, but I hire in Latin America. I tend to find these guys a lot better. You can probably get them cheaper, but I like to pay above average here, between $1,500 and $2,000 per month. They design the emails, they do all the creative stuff, okay? A builder who builds the emails, builds the flows, typically is gonna cost you at full time about $1,200 per month. A copywriter is gonna cost you anywhere between $3,000 to $4,000. Probably going to be your most expensive thing. And then your project manager, which is going to be client facing, is usually going to be about $3,500 to $4,000 as well. Okay. So copywriter just writes everything. The project manager manages the pod. Okay. They coordinate strategy, they review copy, design, they check the builder's work, they're managing the client, and they're outlining flows. Strategy, right? That's the strategy work. Now you actually have access to this board, by the way. It's linked in the description. I give you guys so much. So if we look at this total here, on the high end, we're going to be paying about $10.2K per month just to run this pod. $10,200 per month. Now, we also need to figure out how many clients the pod can handle, realistically. Now, obviously the scope for a client is going to change according to what they want work-wise, but at most, we're going to assume that they can handle 10 clients, 10 like full service clients, which means that if we want to make a 40% margin on our agency as a whole, we're probably going to have to double the cost in terms of revenue. Why do I say double? Because you have to take into account, because obviously this costs 10.2K. If this pod is able to handle 20.4K in revenue, you're probably thinking, hold on, that's like not 40% margin, that's like 100% margin, right? You need to factor in your other costs, right? Your subscription, you want to pay yourself as a salary, your subscriptions for softwares, Stripe transaction fees, marketing, everything like that. You want to, typically agencies want to run about 20 to 40%. If you're doing really well, 50% margin. And to do that, you need to be able to charge pretty much double what the pod's charging you. At least this is, once again, I'm just speaking from personal experience. I just make these videos for fun. So also I do a little bit of coaching as well. So if you want coaching, let me know. But basically we need to make about 20.4K per pod to make sure the agency hits its overall profit margin, which means the client, if it's at max, needs to be paying 2.4K each at a minimum. So how do we get the client to pay 2.4K each to make sure our pod is profitable? So this is how I charge for my offers. Okay, this is what I just price. Future offers are just offers. I'm going to call this offers. I charge $800 per automation. I charge sign-up forms $375, campaigns $2,000 per month, or $250 per Email. The flows, it's typically the most of the work that you're going to get, project-based, but I'm going to teach you how to take the flow work and parlay it into an ongoing project retainer. Sign-up forms, $375. I very rarely get people hiring me just for the sign-up forms. The reason I charge $375 for them is because it's something that I like to give away for free when I'm pitching other stuff, and I'll say, I'll do them for free, right? $375, no worries, and I just do it for free for them to make my offer more appealing. Campaigns, the reason I charge $2,000 per month, I actually do not limit how many emails or SMS messages we send, but I charge $2,000 or $250 per email, because the $250 per email, after about really 7 to 8 emails, right? 8 emails per month, the retainer becomes more viable. And most clients are going to want 10 to 15 emails per month. So just dovetailing the retainer in there makes the one-off option seem more, or rather less affordable, and this a better option, right? Seems like it's value positioned better. So here's what we have. More often than not, right, your clients are going to come to you and they're going to say, hi, we either want campaigns or we want flows. A lot of the time you're going to get a lot of project-based work where they're just going to say, hey, we just want to build out our flows. We don't really care about campaigns. And when I hear that, I think, okay, what that means is we're probably going to have a client for about 1.5 months and then they're going to leave, which is not a sustainable way to grow a business. I want to get that client who is signing up for flows, and I want to over-deliver on value and get them to stick with us as a retainer. I don't want them to just do a project-based work, because while project-based work is great, it's not helpful in terms of scaling and running my business on a regular basis into the future. So month 1, here's how I typically position it. If somebody comes to me and they say, I just want flows, I say, okay, well, here's something that we can do. I charge $800 per automation, okay? And I also charge $2,000 per month for campaigns. I wonder if instead of me building out all of your flows in month 1, we focus on the most important flows in 1 month, build out your sign-up forms for free, and we potentially do a bit of campaign management for you to drive traffic to those flows for a discounted rate. For example, typically I would charge $1,600 to build the welcome series, browse abandon, and I'd even charge an extra $375 for the sign-up forms. Okay, but I'm willing to do the sign-up forms for free. I'll do the welcome series and the browse abandon, which are going to be some of your highest revenue generating flows. Welcome series is debatable, but I will do that for $1,600, and I'll do the campaigns for $2,000. And if you bundle it all together, I'll just drop the whole price down to $3,000. So that way you're getting active campaign management, you're driving traffic to the 2 most important flows, and you're going to be increasing the size of your list through the sign-up form strategy that we use. And then in month 2, I'll do the exact same thing. I'll work my way down from most important to least important in terms of the flows. I'll focus on the abandoned cart and the abandoned checkout and the fulfilled order flow. And then I'll also go on to the following month where I'll go win back and post-purchase. And that way we're focusing on getting the most results in the first month, right? The things that get the biggest results, and we'll gradually start driving more and more traffic through our campaign strategy and learning, this is an important thing I say, we're learning what works during the campaigns that we run. So we're figuring out what's effective, what's working, so that we can then put that learning into the new flows that we build as we go. So rather than saying, hey, let's build everything and then we learn something later on that we then need to go back and work on, we can test things in month 1 and month 2 and build those tests and learnings into the future flows to make your flows even more effective. And what we can do is we can actually do that at like a discounted rate. And honestly, it might be a nice way too, because then you're not locked in for a massive project. You can see how we go, see how we work. And if you want to keep working together after month 2 and month 3, which I'm sure you will, we can then gradually get the account built out over a period of time rather than just everything at once and make mistakes along the way or take longer on the build process. And what I've essentially done right there, and this just works for me, I'm sure you're going to get some sales coach or some offer person who's better at this. Once again, I'm down to hear feedback as well. What I think I've done there is I've essentially taken a project, and instead of doing it in one big chunk, right, I then have spread the work out over a 3-month period and actually increased the LTV. So I've gone from, if it was just the flows, which is like 6 flows and a sign-up form, so 4,200, because 800 times 6, 4,200, plus sign-up forms, which would be 4,575, okay? Instead of a contract value of 4,575, I've actually spread it out to be $9K. And what I'm hoping to do here is at the end of month 4, what I'll say as well is, At month 4, your flows are going to be completely built out. Your whole automation cycle is going to be completely done, and then we can just drop down to a regular campaign schedule, at which point it's going to be $2,000 per month. And what that actually does is it actually makes it seem like things get cheaper in the future. Things are getting cheaper in the future because you don't want to say like it's going to get more expensive down the road. You want to actually say, hey, we're going to build everything out, front load all the work, and things will get cheaper at the very end. And this is where things get really easy because it's just campaign management. The automations are done and you know what works. And that way you've got a client who, yes, you're right, it's not the 2.4K each, but this shouldn't take your pod. This isn't like one client just managing their campaigns. It's actually like 0.75 because you're not doing flows. So you have a pod that's profitable at that point and you run that out. Kind of cool, right? Now let's say the client's like, you know what? No, I don't want to stagger the work out over the next 3 months or 4 months. I want to do it all at once. And you're like, okay, cool. So you want to do everything all at once. So in that case, you'll charge for the welcome series, the browse abandon, the sign up forms, the abandoned cart and abandoned checkout. By the way, I don't charge a different price for abandoned cart and abandoned checkout. I usually charge the same amount. This is me speaking to you, the viewer, not the client, because the abandoned cart and the abandoned checkout can just be duplicated. It's the same thing. Okay. And what we also do is we can say fulfilled order, win back, post purchase. I usually don't charge for a post purchase because the fulfilled order is, and if you want to see my flow outlines, link in the description of this video. I think it's 12 flows for $97. Check that link out. It's a paid link. You boys got to make money. But that is how I charge. So I go win back, post purchase, right? Post purchase and fulfilled order, are the same flow pretty much, just slightly different triggers. And I'll say, okay, so the total here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then it's whatever that price. Okay. But if we want to say like 600, we can add an extra 600, which gets us up to 42 plus 370. You get the idea, right? Do the maths. And what I'll say is we can do all that. We'll do these flows. And you know what else we'll do? We'll do 1 month worth of campaigns for free for you. We'll eat that cost. We'll do a month's worth of campaigns after these flows are done, just to show you how effective our work actually is. And what you're trying to do there is you're trying to get the client to become reliant on you for what you deliver as a service. And so what I'm saying is let me build out the flows, but let me take care of the campaigns for you for 1 month. And what you'll find, I do this all the time, what you'll find is that after you do the campaigns for 1 month for free in that first month, typically your flows are going to be better, so your results should be higher. You should be doing a better job. You'll get a retainer out of it. And you can say, hey, if you wanted to, 0 obligation, but we'll go ahead and manage your campaigns on a month-by-month basis thereafter. And you've done it for free for them, and they don't feel like they're getting free work and you're having to pay more because they feel like it's part of this initial fee here, that they're then more likely to say yes to a cheaper campaign management. It's really important to do this. You do not want to position the campaigns as free. And let me explain this. So when you invoice, you're typically going to invoice 50% up front, okay? And so you'll invoice for all of this work, so half of this, 50%, okay? So if we go, whatever this is, 50% up front. So you're going to collect like 2,100 and something, okay? And then you'll say, we'll also do campaigns for 1 month for free afterwards. But you're going to invoice 50%, you're going to take that 50%, and then once the flows go live, you then manage the campaigns, okay? You then do the campaign work, and then after the campaigns are done, you then invoice for the remaining 50%. You do not invoice for this and then do the campaigns. The reason you do not do that is because they're going to be like, well, hold on, you did the campaigns for free. Why would I pay for them $2K, right? Why would I pay $2K for them after that? What you want to do is you want to invoice for this after the campaigns are done so that they associate the campaign price or the campaigns with that 2,100 or whatever it is that you charge, even though in fact you're charging for this. And so then you can say, hey, listen, the flows are all done. We did the campaigns for you. If you want, we can do campaigns at a regular cadence now at $2K per month, which is cheaper than the $2,100 they just paid. Even though you did the campaigns for free, they don't think it's free because they just paid for the remaining flows, which you did for a cost, and the campaigns for free, right? But they're not thinking the campaigns are free because they just paid a bill after the campaigns are done, which means these campaigns seem cheaper to these. If you invoice them for this and then do the campaigns, which is a free month, and then you try and charge them, they're going to be like, well, why would I pay for something that you just gave me for free, right? Because the time between when they've paid for everything and when it's been fully delivered is too long. So that's how I've done it with quite a lot of success, honestly. And what you'll find here is if you can dislodge anybody who's currently managing their campaigns, right? If you can say, hey, we built out your flows, and typically they'll have some person who does like marketing or something like that, get them out, and then you take over for them to have to come back in and take over everything, it's a pain in the ass. And so what you've done is you've made them reliant on you. And now you can then charge for the regular campaign management. That's how I price my stuff, okay? So once again, there's campaigns, there's flows, there's sign-up forms. That's how I typically pitch my offers and price things. And it works pretty well for me. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but it's been working. It's gotten me up to like 70K months, so I'm happy with that. There is some other stuff here. I don't really know if you want how to get on calls. This is just how to generate leads. I'll make separate videos about this, but whatever. There's SEO, YouTube, for long-term stuff, medium-term, posting on LinkedIn, posting on Twitter, creating a newsletter. Yeah, whatever. Ignore that stuff. Just focus on this stuff over here. If you find this video useful, amazing. Subscribe to the channel, like it. I really, once again, make these videos for fun, document my journey. If you have any questions, chuck them down below. I answer anything and everything that you guys have. If you do want a bit of coaching, it's something that people have been coming to me with. I don't really have any formal training that I run people through, but more than happy just to show you kind of what I do. Just go ahead and book a meeting time with me. Link in the description. Reach out. There's a bunch of ways to get in touch, and we'll see you in the next video.